brother is on the Zoom, so I would love it if we share the stage together tonight, because he was instrumental in the recovery portion of my mom's illness. And so I'm here tonight to share my mom's testimony, who at the time, her name is Mabel. At the time, she was 88 years old. And this happened January, it first started January the 22nd of 2022. And I'd gotten a call, and they shared with me, my family shared with me that my mom had fallen and she was taken to the hospital. She was in the hospital at that time for 5 days. But how many of you know when you generally go to an emergency room, before really asking any real questions, they give you an IV? And so with having them first giving her an IV, they were trying to say that she had meningitis. Well, we really don't know that, because with the first IV. So I'm going to fast forward. So this was January the 22nd. And the other thing that you need to know about our family is we are a believing family. We are a praying family. And so that set the stage for everything. And so at that time, I was like, okay, God, should I go to Texas? Now, my mom lives in Texas. My brother lives with my mom. Um, he, yeah, he lives with my mom. And so at that time, I was like, okay, God, should I go to Texas, or should I just wait until February when I was planning to go anyway? And I heard the Holy Spirit said, this sickness is not unto death, but it is self-induced. And so I just hung on to those words. And so I said, okay, I told my brother, I'm not going to come until February the 8th. I get there, and it actually was within a couple days, my mom kept saying that she could not swallow. And so we couldn't figure out what was going on. Moving forward, February the 14th, we felt like we really needed to call the paramedics. And so we called 911. My mom did not want to go to the hospital. But we basically said, you need to go. We went to they took her to the hospital. That night, they diagnosed her with multifunctional pneumonia, but they gave it the label of COVID-19. And so within hours of her being at the hospital, they said, okay. They called us, I think, in the middle of the night, and said that a blood clot had formed, and now she's had a stroke. And then her memory has been affected by all of that. Now, here again, she's 88 years old. They've labeled her with COVID-19. You've had a stroke and you've lost your memory. But initially, when we called the paramedics, it was concerning that she could not swallow. So she spent 53 days between two hospitals. And Pete, if you want to jump in at any point, just jump in with the conversation or whatever. But she spent 53 days between two hospitals. And this first hospital that gave the first three labels or diagnosis, they wouldn't allow us to see her. And they said, because of the COVID issue, 21 days. And we're getting, a little antsy, because here mom's 88. She's never been without her family. And how is it that you're going to deny us opportunity to see our mom. We need to know what's going on. So I talked to several people, and they actually gave us a webinar. And this might have been maybe 15 to 17 days in. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see. Oh, wait a minute.
Yes. And in the process of us helping our mother out, and she had vowed that she didn't want to take the shot, and some people did, but that was something that she chose not to do. And between a 5-minute ride from the house, and she hadn't been out, no social activities, anything like that during COVID. So between the house and a 5-minute ride to the hospital, she was diagnosed with COVID. And we had a problem with that because, like Suzy said, she had not been away from family. None of us, somebody's always been here no more than about 3 days from somebody being in the house with her. But this was a major, major situation for us. And in that diagnosis, at the first hospital, the doctor called us in and he told us there was nothing else that we could do. And so they gave her up at that moment to say that, she's on her own, basically. And I had called one of my friends who was a administrator at a hospital in Dallas, and they told me there was a place that we could take her to try and get her some therapy and all that other stuff, just instead of going into the nursing home, because that was the suggestion by the first hospital. So she told me there was another hospital that you can take her in for like 21 days, 30 days, get her some more care, and then see what happened to give you enough time to see what we wanted to do. And that's what we did. That's why she ended up being in the hospital after 54 days. Go ahead, Suzy. You can, and then I'll come back in.
Okay. So that first picture, did you guys see that first picture?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, we saw it.
We saw. I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That was the first hospital with roughly 23 days. But again, that picture was the around the 14th, or between the 14th and 17th day. And when we saw our mom, we could not recognize her. We said, who is this? This is not our mom. So at that point, we began to basically jump on the table. We need to see our mom. You must let us see our mom. And so one of my friends shared about the compassion law. And so when I mentioned that, they started scurrying. Okay, one person can come see it. So they allowed me to go in to see my mom. And when I saw my mom, they had never gotten her up out of bed, hadn't done really too much of anything. She was just there. And we made a decision that very day that I went to visit her to insert a feeding tube, because she continued to pull this tube out of her nose. And we knew that even though the Lord gave those words and we were believing God, we had people agreeing with us all over the world, praying with us. And but we made the decision to put the feeding tube in. And even in making the decisions, the doctors were even leery of that. They gave us no hope. Everything was so negative. And so, like my brother said, we made a decision to move her to another hospital, because at that point, the doctor said her memory is never going to return. The best thing is to put her in a skilled nursing facility, and she'll probably last about 6 months. So when we moved her to this other facility, they gave us, at that time, a little bit of hope. So we said, let's do it. and we took her to another hospital, probably about 40 miles uh, in between. Got her there, and mind you, we stayed with her. Somebody was with her at all times. And I'm sad to say that we just didn't trust the doctors. The nurses, some of the nurses were good, some weren't, but we just didn't trust the medical community. And so now, mind you, my mom didn't speak for 53 days. The whole time she was in the hospital, she didn't say anything. They never looked at her throat. And that was what we call the paramedics on.
And
So,
let me just say, and when she got to this hospital, whatever they gave her at the first hospital, she had not woken up or opened her eyes for like 5 days when she got to the other hospital.
so being at the second hospital, they continued to give her, blood pressure. Well, it wasn't blood pressure, it was diabetes, insulin. And maybe the first hour they would give her 6 units. Then the next hour it may be higher or it may be lower. They never got the levels regulated. So we were pushing it roughly 20 something days in. And actually, Pete, it was this hospital. They gave her, she was agitated one night, and they gave her 0.5 milliliters of Ativan, and it caused her to sleep for 7 days. We couldn't even wake her up. We would talk to her. She could not wake up. And after that, we were like, no, we don't want, we want to be, involved in everything that goes in her mouth, which we were, but we were kind of letting them, have a say. But after that, we were like, no. So fast forwarding, the closer we got to the 21 days, which they initially told us they would have let us stay there at least 30, because it was to get her up and walking. Well, because she slept for 7 days, I shared with them, how was she going to get up? And she came there with a stage 2 decubitus ulcer. So I have a friend here in this area, and she had been telling me, she told me 3 years ago about the Atomy product. She told me about Hemoheme. And at that time, I was using something else. So I just, kind of ignored her. And then I mentioned to her in January, I mentioned to her in February, just talking, because she would text me, hey, how's your mom? And she just kept mentioning the Atomy products. And so while at the hospital, God said to us, just because it's a hospital, it doesn't have to feel like a hospital. So he had us to write scriptures on paper and put on the wall. And so whenever the medical staff would come in, they would just look around the room, and we were letting them know, we're believing God. And so while my mom was there, even though she wasn't talking to us, there were times when she would just be talking out. And she would be talking to her dead mom or dead siblings or things like that. So we're looking at this, hearing this, and saying, okay, God, we speak your word over her mind, even though they're saying that she will never recover from sundowners. We believe your word. So the closer we got to the 21, well, it was really like 28 days. They gave us an extra few days because of the 7 days. They made us, like on a Tuesday, they made us make a decision to take her out of the hospital. And they said, if we don't take her out by Wednesday at noon, then we would be responsible for her medical bill. So we didn't have a choice but to bring my mom home on hospice because we didn't want to put her in a nursing home. And that the other doctor of this hospital said the very same thing as the first hospital. And he said, we've done everything that we can do. The best thing is skilled nursing. She'll probably last 6 months. So on April the 7th, 2022, we brought our mom home on hospice. We knew she wanted to live. And we knew that God had already healed her, but we knew that we needed to walk this thing through. And I don't know about you guys, but there were many nights that I didn't want to go to sleep at night for fear of the hospital calling. When I wasn't there, we would take shifts or whatever. Well, at the time that she was at the first hospital, we couldn't go. And it was so scary at times because to get a call in the midnight hour and them saying that she didn't make it. And so those were those times. And we did have times where they would call in the midnight hour and they would have to give her a blood transfusion. Her blood is low, her this or that or whatever, you know. But we brought her home on hospice. And me and my brother made a decision that we're not going to give her the medication from the hospital. We're not going to give her that synthetic food like Ensure or whatever. At that time, we knew that we needed to rebuild her body, but we did not know with what. So we, in the hospital, we found some organic, kind of like Ensure Boost or something. Asked the hospital, they said, no, you're on your own. If you want her to have it, then you order it. So we ordered that. We found some organic food, pureed food, and we just started pouring everything down that feeding tube. And on hospice, we asked them to allow us to have some physical therapy. They refused us. They said, no, we encourage you to use the morphine to keep her comfortable, because all they do is wait for your loved ones to die. And we kept telling them, our mama is not dying. She is going to live so that she can declare the works of the Lord. And it was so much tension maybe between us and the hospice people that we ended up taking our mom off of hospice. And what they didn't tell us, we couldn't get any home health care while she was on hospice. So we took her off cold turkey for 3 weeks. And it was really just me and my brother working. And then there was times when I had to go home or come home and left mom with my brother, and he was caring for her all by himself. And so there was a time when I came home in May, and I learned about the Atomy products. And I said, okay, I'm going to try them first. And if they work for me, then we're going to use them on my mom. So I tried them. And in July, when I went back in July, we began to, actually, before I share that part, I want my brother to share Um, this one, this picture, hold on 1 second.
And just leading up to this point, I think that we were having problems with the beds. We had problems with the getting product from some of the people with hospice and stuff like that. And the only thing we knew that we had to do, that you had to probably do it on your own. And I didn't know anything about nurses aid. I mean, I used to be an activity director in a convalescent home, and I would see how they would treat people, but I never really knew how to, just actually take care of my mom and stuff like that. And I stayed in the hospital. I think my sister stayed a while and then she went home. I think I stayed probably 10 days straight. Another thing is, if you don't have anybody there constantly watching what's going on and what they're giving your loved one, then you don't know exactly what they're doing. And so they got very angry with me because there was a lot of times I was saying that, hey, we're not going to take this today. We're not going to do these because if she's low on blood, why would you continue to take blood? So there was a major situation there, but we just kept trusting God. And what you're looking at now is that this thing, this decubus on a hill, it was at the edge, it was 100% black all around this hill, about the size of a silver dollar. And they were already kind of messing with me about reporting me and stuff because they thought I was abusing my mother because I was treating her for myself and a lot of things that they wanted to give her and knowing that it wasn't good for her, I just said, no, we're going to use what we got. And so before this happened, it was black, man, this thing burst and I was like, what in the world are we going to do? So my sister had mentioned something about some toothpaste. And I'm like, this girl's got to be crazy. What in the heck am I going to do with some toothpaste, man? I need something to heal this wound. And she said, no, take the toothpaste, Adamy's toothpaste, and mix it, right? And put it on a heel. And so she said, well, let me call KJ. So we talked to another person, and they were talking about not only using the toothpaste, put it on for a while, wipe it off, and then put some hemohim on it. And I was like, man, forget that. I'm gonna put the toothpaste on it and leave it on there with the hemo heel. And within 3 days, where you see all of this black and this skin was raw, it was raw. In 3 days, this is what it looked like. It sucked all of the pores and all the pus and stuff from around that heel and started healing. And when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? So I knew, and I've seen it for myself and with my own eyes, what Adamy's products would do. So she also had some sores on her bottom. So I started using that because they left her, they would not turn her very much. And so all of these things had to take place. And like I said, I didn't even know what I was doing totally as a professional, but I knew that I knew how to take care of somebody. I would take care of them just like I'm taking care of myself. And this is what the final picture will look like in those 3 days. That was God. And God, one of the things that I tell people is that God heals, but Atomy rebuilds. And this is what Atomy did for us. And so after that, that's when I started using the vitamins and everything else in feeding her in the feeding tube. The other thing was her stool was jet black when she came out of there. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is this, man? And it kept going on and on. And I'm thinking that she had maybe cancer or something. And my aunt told me, she said, no, she's bleeding on the inside. There's something that's going on. You need to find out where it is. So, whatever took place at that time, the bleeding stopped between the first month and probably the second or third month. Her stools start clearing up after we started giving her the Atomy products. And so when I started seeing how she was recovering, right, and she was making progress, it was a lot better for us and for my sister. So the first thing, my mother had not eaten anything in however many months that was after she got out of the hospital. So it was 6 months that she was sick.
February the 14th.
14. So she was sitting in the house, and one day I had some watermelon, right? And I gave her a piece of watermelon. And this was the first piece of solid food that she had had since she went to the hospital back in February the 14th. And when she did that, that was a major sign that, hey, everything is going to be all right. We're making it. But her mindset, she was not in the right mind. She didn't know where she was at. She did not remember the situations that she was going through. They told her that she had one kidney, that she wasn't going to make it. She would never talk. She would never be out of her condition to walk. And my question was, they said something about thrombosis and that they gave her that diagnosis. And I was asking myself, when has anybody ever really died from a stroke? Right. And so just looking at what Adam can do, taking the products on a regular basis and trusting it. The one thing that I know is that if you don't believe in the products yourself, then nobody else is going to believe in it. And so today, she's sitting in there now. I knew that my mother's going, she was going to be okay. When she started asking about that bank account, I already knew that she was going to be all right. Where's my money? What, what, what y'all do with my purse, right? When she started asking those questions, we knew that she's back, right? Everything was going to be okay.
So what I'd like to do at this point is maybe just go through the supplement list that we used with my mom.
And still
And
using.
again, I'm sorry.
And still using.
Yeah, still, well, we've increased
Increase,
and
yes.
added hemoheme because during this time, we only used the hemoheme on her decubitus ulcer. And we mixed, and we didn't like measure. We just took one sachet of the hemoheme and then eyeballed the amount of toothpaste, mixed it together as a salve, and put it on her foot.
And her butt.
And excuse me?
And the backside.
Oh, okay. I
She,
didn't know you used it there.
yeah.
Okay. So putting it there on the foot, and the instructions really was to wash it off, but he made a decision. No, I'm just going to put it on the first day. I'm going to add more on the second day, and I'm going to add more on the third day. And on the fourth day was what that second picture, you saw new growth. And I mean, I've shared that portion of the testimony with several people now, and they've gotten the same results with their loved ones with a decubitus ulcer or a type of sore. If it's not, too deep or whatever, they've gotten the same results. So the first product, and again, my mom had this feeding tube. She had the feeding tube all the way up to, I think it was in 2023. She still had the feeding tube.
Yeah.
So vitamin C, we use vitamin C with her, the Atomy vitamin C. And vitamin C has the ability to heal wounds, and to build up. And it helps with absorption with the iron, helping the iron to absorb. And we did everything through this feeding tube. If it needed to be crunched up, like those calcium tablets or the vitamin D, we would crush it up, put it in water, pour it down the feeding tube. So we did vitamin C, the Atomy vitamin D.
And I just want to say this, that we were given instructions by the hospice nurse who was she was very good, and she was kind of more sympathetic when she came out and did the evaluation. And she encouraged us to try some of these things out. If it didn't work, move to the next one. But if it did work, make sure you stick with it. So she was very instrumental in us doing things and giving my mother things and feeling safe about it. It was very good for her to say that. Try it out. And if it doesn't work, then try something different.
Right. We use vitamin B. We did probiotics, the Atomy probiotics. Well, we did also the vitamin, we did the iron too.
Yeah.
We
And the
did
iron,
calcium,
yes.
and we did, oh, she's going to bring up the probiotics. Okay.
And I think it was the probiotics that kind of helped her gut to get rid of all the black stool and all that other stuff that we were dealing with.
We also did the spirulina. And then the last product was our Alaskan omega-3 fish oil, or E3. And we started these products in July. And we consistently gave her the supplements, the organic Ensure, the organic food, and plenty of alkaline water. And by October, the first Sunday in October, I called my mom because I had just left there in September, and I said, Mom, I'm just calling you, checking on you. I want to know how you're doing. And hold on. She said to me, oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to share this picture. So I said, Mom, how you doing? I'm just calling to check up on you. Want to see how you're doing. And she said, I just got my hair cut. I'm cute. I look like heaven. I said, you look like heaven. I said, are you ready to go? She said, oh no, I'm not ready to go. But when I do go, I'm going to look like heaven. So what you're looking at is a woman, that first picture of a woman who had been in ICU
Death.
for 15 to 17 days, but now who was on hospice. And by October, the first Sunday in October, this is what she looked like. Had her nails painted. Well, and my mom, I'm 63. I've never known my mom to wear no more than about one ring or two at the most. You see, she got about four. Look, let me see. She got one, two, three. She got three rings on the
On the
one
other
hand,
side.
and then on the other hand, she got jewelry on. I'm like, who is this woman? Now, I had just left her a week prior to this picture. And she was feeling good. She was still bed fast, but she looked better. And we know that one, it was to the glory of God. We know that God is a healer. But we had prayed and asked God, what could we use to rebuild the body? And he put Atomy. I paid attention at that point. Put Atomy in our path for this very moment. And I think I have one other picture. One of my friends said, you should have gone back and took her to the hospital so that the doctors could see what you now see. And I'm like, nah, we don't want to waste our time.
And in July, she will be 91 years old, if the Lord says the same.
So this is what she looked like November 2022. And what I didn't share with you was the picture from Thanksgiving. This was Thanksgiving Day. What she looked like before, the year before, and what she looked like now. So she was in a wheelchair. At this point, we were able to get her up out of the bed. And this lady made 5 coconut cream pies. Had not been in the kitchen prior to. But for Thanksgiving, this particular Thanksgiving, she made 5 coconut cream pies. And then my last picture, we celebrated her 90th birthday this past July. And this is her at her 90th birthday, Miss Bossy. You see 90 and fabulous? She believed that too. And so this is basically our story, testimony of our mom.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, she's even doing even better.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that now, even this morning, actually, she gets up and she's able to move from the living room. She's no longer in the hospital bed, and like she's like sleeping in her lazy boy chair. She won't get in the bed, and we've taken out all hospital beds. We make it as simple and plain, just as if she was back in her regular routine. She's able to go to the bathroom. She can put on her Depends. She can put on her clothes, and she is moving around the house. She came in the kitchen this morning. She is now practicing. She's been out of therapy for the last 5 or 6 months, but she continues. She said God had promised her that she was going to walk on her own, and she is bound to do it. So she came in the kitchen this morning. She walked by herself from the table to the refrigerator to the dish sink, to the sink, dishwashing sink, and just back and forth. So she's getting her own work in and doing it herself. Nobody has to tell her to go do it, because she knows that if she's going to reach the goals that she has set for herself and God, what God has told her, showed her, then she's got to put in the work. So she is very bossy now. She goes to Bible study now. On one of our dad's friends pick her up for Bible study at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. On Thursday, she's going to play dominoes. So she's back doing the activities, what she was doing before. So I thank God for that. Thank God for my sister. And we thank God for being God. Thank Adamy family. I thank CEO Chairman Park for bringing this product to the United States and around the world. All I want to say is do not quit and do not give up, even when it looks like it's not going to happen. Hang in there, right? Because God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ever hope, imagine, or think. God bless you guys.
I just want to add one last thing. We have added, she still takes those same supplements. We increased her iron to maybe like 4 packs or 2 packs or 4, increased her vitamin C, but she also takes the hemoheme now, and she pretty much controls her own, with taking her own supplements and things like that. We put them out there for her, and no problem. Even with the taste of the hemoheme, she didn't have a problem with it. She just said, "Hey, I'm doing this," and so she's very consistent with it, and will know if you missing something. Where my green pill, or where my, this pill or whatever. So she's coming along. So the next update will be she's walking without the walker.
Yeah. And I just want to say this, and that one of the most improved things I can tell you about my mother, she cut out the bologna, the pressed ham, and all those things that probably caused the stroke, but she's drinking more water than she has been probably in her entire life. She's drinking 5 to 6 bottles of water, 4 to 5 bottles of water a day, which I believe the changing of her diet in the morning and getting her vitamins in, and also this water has put her in a place where she's able to determine her outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there any questions? Anybody want to say anything, questions, or?
Just want to say this is an awesome, awesome story. It just give me chills. But thank you for coming on and sharing that with us. We highly appreciate that because people don't believe when you see, they have to really, sometimes they say seeing is believing, but it's all about faith. And
Mhm.
because you come on here and you explain and break it down, maybe they would believe now that these products are very necessary, and we don't have to be ill to start taking these stuff. If we could get on these stuff now so we could control what's happening on the inside, because that's where the fight is, on
Right.
the inside. So this is time for us to get on board right now with these products and build your immune system and build everything. Cleanse your body, cleanse your stomach, repair the walls of your stomach so it won't leak into the bloodstream, detox your blood so you can always have that beautiful flow, no blood clot. So this is how important these products are, and you just made just prove the it's proven by you with the story you just told. Awesome, we appreciate it,
Yeah.
and
And
I'm glad to hear your
thing,
mom is still there. I wish this when my mom passed away, she had all this blood clot and all this different stuff. But I never heard of Atomy till 3 months after she passed.
oh,
And
wow.
every time I hear you guys' story, I said, if only I knew about it before, she would
Mhm.
have been here today. I'm guarantee you, just
Mhm.
listening to these stories. But I didn't learn about it until 3 days after she passed, 3 months after she passed.